chair of the Conservation Commission, and we'll kick off our open space and recreation plan focus group meeting for May 18th. This is, I think, our 10th and will be our final of the focus group meetings. Appreciate everyone who has kind of been with us throughout these and all of the input that we've gotten from folks. The theme for tonight is open space accessibility, trails, bike paths, and town connectivity. That said, folks are welcome to share comments on any open space topics that are near and dear, but specifically any comments around accessibility and connectivity are the focus for this evening. Just before getting started, a quick note that this meeting is available to be attended in person and via the Zoom platform. In an effort to ensure citizen engagement, folks are able to dial into the meeting using the phone number 929-205-6099 and then entering the meeting number 856-9230-7647. Or you can go in through the Zoom application, and again, the same meeting number, 856-9230-7647. And this is also available, I think, are we on Franklin TV tonight?
Yes.
Yep. So also available through Franklin TV. And then, of course, folks are able to attend and comment live at town council chambers. So I think, and just one more quick note before getting started with the conversation, just a reminder, if folks would like to submit written comments, you are still able to do so, I believe. You can go to the conservation website, that's franklinma.gov/conservation. There's a link to access the open space and recreation plan, all of the materials, past recordings of past meetings, and through that website you can submit written comments, and those will be incorporated into the plan itself. Our goal is to have a full draft of the plan ready for early June, and then we have a public hearing on June 20th at the Franklin Senior Center to talk through comments on that initial draft of the open space and recreation plan update. So without further ado, we'll open it up, and again, these have been kind of informal conversations, so happy to field any comments or questions on the topic of accessibility and connectivity.
Pat, I just wanted to give a quick update on the self-evaluation and transition plan that I've been working on. Myself and Gus Brown, the building commissioner, Mary O'Neill, who's on the the Commission for Persons with Disabilities, and Victoria Strand went out last Wednesday, and we did our first round at all the town ball fields and playgrounds, and we'll be finishing up the last 3 tomorrow, starting with Delcart, Dacey, and Meadowlark Lane. So we should be complete by tomorrow. I'll write up the report and get it over to Breek Alive by the end of next week.
Thanks, Ryan.
That's great. Thanks for the update. Allie, I see you have your hand up. Feel free to unmute.
Hello, everyone. How exciting is it that this is the last one? Oh my goodness, it's been a journey. I've already voiced perspective on accessibility a bunch of times throughout the whole thing. I think for me, the thing that stands out the most as someone who does navigate life with disability here in Franklin is the playground surfaces, a goal to get them switched over to that like resilient rubber surface. And actually my sister, Jennifer Williams, she was unable to make it to the meeting tonight because of her little kids, and she was asked me to speak on her behalf as well. She's also a Franklin resident, and she said she agrees, of course, not only for accessibility with switching over the playground surfaces, but also, even, toddlers learning to walk have a hard time on things like mulch, or strollers are hard on mulch, and how toddlers can eat mulch. But she mentioned how it's there's a couple surrounding towns that have great examples, like Choate Park and Medway and things like that. But I think that'd be my number one thing. I lied. There's two. One more. But so second to that, actually, because of the whole connectivity thing, I know like the SNET Trail just redid that section, and it's really exciting. I am very excited for those who can access it, but it can be really frustrating as someone with disability that stone dust is just not accessible. And so if that trail in particular, or any other surfaces in town start to get changed, asking for consideration for pavement instead of stone dust, because again, anything that you can pick up off the ground as a surface isn't really accessible. Wheels get stuck and it's hard to walk on if you have balance issues and stuff. So I guess my thing is surfaces. But thank you all so much for all of your efforts on this, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allie, and thanks for being such an active participant. I think your perspective and input has been really, really important to us going through and hearing. So thank you. Toby, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi everyone. I've also said many things and sent many emails over the course of this, and so I'll restrict my comments just to a few new ones. Some of this I have sent over, but just to voice it in a meeting. One of the things that I'm always looking for is opportunities to connect neighborhoods with trails, right? I think we think about trails often as being a place that like you can drive to and do on a weekend, with your family. But there's a whole bunch of trails that just connect neighborhoods that allow Franklin's kids to connect with other kids in a much safer and really more enjoyable way. We know this was true with Maple Hills. That was true around me. There are a whole bunch of these, and there are a whole bunch of other opportunities where we have massive parcels between neighborhoods, and just having little right-of-ways and making sure that the trails connect are really good ways to increase accessibility and connectivity uptown. One such that I just explored recently and shot over to Brickell Eye is off Parliament Drive. There used to be, you don't know, Parliament's this small residential area that used to have a homeowners association that controlled this. There's a basketball court, tennis court, and baseball field. It's now all been grown in, but it's and now it has some trails that some kids use for biking. But it's a potential opportunity to do something cool. And the fun fact about that I learned recently is that the movie The Natural, the guy that was based off of, used to play baseball there and like throw the ball around with kids. So that's kind of dope. And then, all right, townwide trail or neighborhood trail, Parliament. And then the last one is putting my hat on as the president of the Franklin Bellingham Rail Trail Committee. We're very, very lucky to have the Southern New England Trunk Line Trail start in Franklin. We've made a ton of improvements with the bridge and the surface improvements, and we're still making more, but keeping that as a radar, really one of our primary, if not our primary recreational trails asset is huge. And so some of the big things that we're looking at are the crossing across Grove Street, the parking lot at Grove Street. I think both of those have plans to be addressed, but making sure that they remain priorities. Further surface improvements, as touched upon by Allie, and then your real big seating options along the way, and then your big ticket item, which really should be, I think, Franklin's number one trails priority, is extending that rail trail through to the rest of the mostly unused rail track that takes us all the way to downtown. That has the opportunity to really make Franklin a destination for the entire area to come visit our businesses and start and end their day in the middle of Franklin, and invite people there, and really just open that trail up to more people and being able to walk to and bike to more. So keeping the SNET as a top priority. A final request for this meeting. Thank you so much for all you've done and all the time you've put into all these meetings.
Great, thanks, Kobe. Just a question coming off of Kobe's and Ally's comments. Ryan, have you come across any kind of surfacing that, because I think oftentimes for trails especially, there's kind of this balance between, wanting to keep the trails pervious, but then, there's the accessibility concerns as well, and that, what Ally was saying around how that is simply not accessible for someone who, is in a wheelchair or who has mobility, needs. So I wonder, are there any surfacing materials that you've come across that, balance kind of like that are maybe semi-pervious or that kind of get a little beyond what's currently out there?
Well, I actually happen to live right on the SNET railroad bed. It's behind me like 15 feet, so I'm very familiar with the rail trail, and I thought that surface was a pretty good balance, quite honestly. I don't know, I have heard from Victoria that there's a section from the parking lot to get to the actual packed down material that they currently have that is stone dust, and it's very cumbersome to get to. But right outside where I live, I know they had a steamroller, like a 2-ton steamroller that went up and down with a vibrator on it that really packed it down. So you could literally drive a truck down these trails. I know there are some areas that are challenging, but I really thought that was a good middle ground. As you said, it's impervious. I mean, the next best thing, I think, is what we've done at Nason Street Playground, which is that poured-in-place rubber. It's super expensive, but it gives you both, that shock absorbency for when children fall on it, but also gives you a good planarity where you can roll wheelchairs or bikes or strollers down it. So I think the SNET is pretty good. I don't have, I haven't seen anybody really try to go down there with strollers or wheelchairs, but just seeing what I saw, I know they packed it pretty good.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. I know we've taken a few comments on Zoom. Is there anyone in chambers who has any questions or comments just before going through the Zoom folks?
If you could come up to the mic, that would be great.
Yep. Then just make sure you introduce yourself and your address.
Okay, sure. I will preface this. I'm not a good public speaker. My name is Victoria Strand, and so I did have the privilege of going to the self-evaluation, and that was really eye-opening. I loved it. I do have some other comments, but just we're talking about the rail trail. So Milford, Millville, and Holliston, to my knowledge, all have asphalt, which we do use. We go visit family nearby, and that is just so much smoother. So a little bit about myself. My son has cerebral palsy. He's almost 10. He's in a wheelchair. That wheelchair is about 70 pounds, and TJ is about 100 pounds. So if you can imagine a little bump, we hit shins, we go, all sorts of things happen. So, unfortunately, I understand the want to keep it as natural, as possible, but it's inaccessible for TJ, so we do go to other towns to utilize that type of thing. While I have the podium here, I would like to just piggyback off Ally. My comments would be that I think surfaces are a big thing. The mulch is again, it's the same type of issue that we have, and I would also like to compliment Ryan, when we went to this evaluation, he was really great. Every park bench that we saw that was not paved, he said, we need to get pavement to it. We need to figure this out. So I was really impressed, and that really felt great to know that, okay, that wasn't me that had to say that. Somebody from the town sees that we need this improvement, and let's work together, and this is good. So I was really happy to be a part of that, and happy to give my input, and so yeah. But I would love pavement everywhere we could get it. So great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jake, I think you were up next. Do you want to?
Yeah, I actually, everything that Kobe said, I want to echo because he took the words right out of my mouth. I think the extension of the SNET into the center of town, or at least to Union Street, would be really valuable and just extend the accessibility of the rail trail to many more people so that they could walk to it from their neighborhoods, and also kids. A giant proponent of getting kids on bikes, getting kids outside, getting kids exercising in any way that we can provide them with access to that in town. I think is important. And I think that echoes also Kobe's comment about connecting neighborhoods and connecting neighborhoods with trails. And we've done that really successfully between like Brandywine and Daniels with a bunch of trails. Short ones that would, if a kid was to ride his bike, he'd have to go all the way down Skyline and up Daniels, and Daniels is not a great road to ride their bike on, but now they can cut between, those two neighborhoods within 5 minutes on their feet. It gives them a safe way to transport between neighborhoods. We see this all over on Bridle Path as well, at the end of Bridle Path. So I think there are a lot of examples of that in town, and a lot more that we could probably utilize different town-owned parcels to try and attain that connectivity. And lastly, I'd like to throw out the idea of dovetailing into kids on bikes. A lot of towns are starting to put in kid pump tracks for bikes. Those are small areas where they have little, I guess I call them little bumps or something, where kids can ride around almost in a circle and really get joy out of their bikes and learn bike handling skills, and at the same time being outside. So that's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Tom, I see your hand up. Feel free to.
Yes, I'm honored to be able to join your effort tonight. I'm a former Massachusetts resident, and I'm on the board of the New Hampshire Rail Trail Coalition, but a member of your rail trail group as well. I want to compliment you on all the discussion so far, particularly the aspect of mobility for those who are handicapped. But here's my point. What we're trying to do in New Hampshire is to create what we call knowledge nuggets. Because time and time again, we have these discussions, and people who are very professional and very articulate, and often in their work, use PowerPoint presentations and are very comfortable to create them, speak, but then a few minutes later, that knowledge is lost. So I encourage you to take the comments that are being made tonight and put them onto some YouTube video or something, or even just a simple PowerPoint, so that the ideas don't get lost. And again, I want to compliment you on this effort. It's just been wonderful listening to it, and I'll be quiet, just sitting in the background, enjoying it. Have a great time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tom. Any members of the commission or any other comments in chambers?
The chambers. Hi, my name is Randy.
Oh, sorry, Randy.
Hi, my name is Randy J. I live in Franklin on Country Way for 33 years now. I'm a member of the Disability Commission for about 5 years now. And I didn't know what to expect at this meeting. I haven't been attending them, but I was told about it at our meeting in the last week or so. But what I wonder is, I know, so a friend of mine who is disabled encouraged me to get involved in this group in town here because it's what he did in North Attleboro till they kicked him off the committee, because he raised a lot of ruckus in behalf of persons with disabilities. But what he often spoke of was the importance and guidelines in place already on playground surfaces and, pathways and accessibility. And I was just wondering, does the building commission or the town incorporate the guidelines from the Americans with Disabilities Act? Anybody know?
They do, so that, no, that's okay, you don't have to apologize, I'm just over here. They do, yes, so every new development, let's just take a step back from like town-owned facilities, they have to be ADA compliant. Town-owned facilities do as well. The evaluation that Ryan was mentioning, that is led by rec department and the building commissioner. So they've been going out, I don't know, Ryan, how many years, I mean, it's pretty repetitive, it's rinse and repeat. So every few years they have to go out and they have to evaluate it to make sure it's all up to code. It tends to fall in line with the open space plan as well, because a component of the open space plan is ADA compliance. And I'm paraphrasing for everybody, but I think what we found is that there's the guidelines and then there's reality.
Right.
So that's where this open space plan is really focused on the accessibility and mobility and just being available to everybody.
Yeah, it's, I think it's hard to step back and see the big picture sometimes where, there's accessibility to the parking lot.
Yeah.
There's a handicap parking spot, but then how do you get to the ball field over
Right.
there and situations such
Yeah.
as those? But
Absolutely.
it sounds like you've got the right checklists.
Thank you. Appreciate the guide.
Pat, if I can just chime in real quick. So, just so people are aware, I mean, the Massachusetts law on playground surfacing has recently changed. It's not something that has been 20 years old and we have just ignored it. Mulch surfacing was an accepted form of playground surfacing up until a couple of years ago. So all of our new playgrounds, we intend to use this poured-in-place rubber. I want to make sure everybody understands that. We're not going to be building new playgrounds with mulch surfacing going forward. So, and also, I think, everybody that's concerned about, ideas coming up and us forgetting about them, I would urge you to read the self-evaluation and transition plan, because that's the nuts and bolts of all of our parks and playgrounds. We're going around tomorrow with Victoria, Mary, myself, and Gus again to go through every single bathroom facility, concession facility, playground, and we're looking at everything. We're doing measurements. We're looking at van accessibility. We're looking at how to get to and from every part of that park. So it's a very thorough self-evaluation. So I don't want anybody to think that we're just going to forget about this tomorrow. This is something that's going to be in writing. It's going to be in the 2024 Open Space and Rec Plan, and then we're going to make that transition. Funds are very limited. We're going to do our best to try to get everything up to speed, but things take time. We have a lot of parks, we have a lot of sites in town, and we'll do our best to try to meet that accessibility.
And Ryan, it might just be helpful, because I know there are, in addition to Nason Street, that there are plans over the next few years for a few other playgrounds in town. Would you be able just to refresh for folks who haven't been involved in those conversations?
Sure. Well, Nation Street Tot Lot was recently done. That's going to be opening up on May 31st. We have our ribbon cutting at 5 p.m. So everybody's encouraged to come and check out the new playground. We have pictures on our website of it as well, and the surfacing is just great there. We're really happy with it. Fletcher Field will be our next playground improvement. The back playground at Fletcher Field was done in 2016. And the front playground is still 2007, I want to say that was done. So we're going to be doing that over. We got a state grant of $50,000, and I'm going to be going to the community preservation for more funding, an extra 150 to bring the swing set closer to the playground, and then put poured-in-place rubber in that whole front area, and then also provide a walkway access to the picnic tables and to the rear playground. So that will be the next one. The following year, we're going to be working on King Street to make improvements to that playground. And then I believe 3 years down the road, Daisy Field will be next on the list. So we have a plan in place over the next 5 years to upgrade most of those playgrounds.
That's great. Thanks, Ryan. Any other folks in chambers who would like to comment or have any questions? Or on Zoom? Kit, I see your hand raised. Feel free to chime in.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, Kit Brady, Kimberly Avenue. I bought the Maple Hill property. And the nice thing about Maple Hill is that it's a blank slate. And, you know, I think there's some great opportunities. Obviously, money is always an issue to build specific purpose-built trails within the Maple Hill parcel. That some that could be more specific for walking, some that could be more specifically built for accessibility, wheelchair accessibility, to help kind of distribute the cost of pavement or whatever is a more, you know, impervious surface versus another trail for mountain biking. So with respect to accessibility, you know, I think that Maple Hill, you know, is yet to be kind of conceptualized as to what it's going to be, and might be a great opportunity to kind of take all these these comments into account when you're designing what you plan to do with that space. That's all I had to say.
Great, thank you, Kit. Allie, go ahead.
Why not? All right. Well, two things have come to mind as we've been talking here. One is when it was mentioned, like with the SNET trail, you know, not having seen people in strollers and wheelchairs there, I think that tells us something in itself. We would see more people with strollers and wheelchairs there if it were more accessible. So I just wanted to add that perspective in there. But then the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet to date is the thought surrounding, I know like keeping actual like woodsy trails natural is very important, and I am all for that. I'm just kind of wondering if there's a spot in town that even if it wasn't a trail that was paved, if maybe there was just sort of like a common area near a woodsy or, you know, water included space where you could just sit and be more in nature, right? So it may not be a park, or you may not be walking all through the woods, but, you know, a little paved area before a trailhead or near a lake or something, just with a bench from, you know, paved from the parking lot to that, and then everything else kept natural, sort of thing. I'd love that. I love just going somewhere and sitting and hanging out. So just another consideration for us.
Great, thanks, Allie. Fitch, feel free to unmute.
Hey, good evening. I'm part of the New England Mountain Bike Association here in Franklin, and just on the topic of some of the new trail pieces, gentlemen was just speaking about Maple Hill. If there is, you know, desire to do anything in the woods, obviously NEMBA would be happy to help out with it. What I did want to call attention to is we were recently contacted by a gentleman who represents some adaptive mountain bikers. For those who don't know, adaptive mountain biking is, you may have seen it before, it's for disabled riders who still want to pursue mountain biking. It's hand cranks, 4 wheels. They're very complicated, pretty awesome machines. But we've been working with some of our local trail networks to make sure we're documenting where adaptive riding can take place. Contrary to popular belief, these guys can definitely ride, so they aren't looking for you know, dumbed down necessarily places. But I think Franklin does have some great parcels to it. So on the accessibility side of that, I'd be happy to go through with some of our adaptive rider friends and notate on the town's behalf of where adaptive riding is currently set up. There's certain places where you need certain trail widths. Obviously, there's going to be certain scenarios where simply you can't get past on a 4-wheeled vehicle, hand-powered, of course, not motorized. So it still falls under all the same environmental use friendliness that mountain biking entails. But I think it's a great opportunity for Franklin too, because everyone is so very positive about accessibility and making sure everyone can enjoy the town.
Thank you, Fitch. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, just to sit down at some point and kind of go through where there might be good opportunities to look at. And I think, you know, this is a conversation that has come up, you know, in other contexts, and talking about, For example, Riverbend and some of the other conservation areas where I think, in general, trails are maybe not as wide or accessible, even to people who, do not have accessibility challenges. And so I think generally we love to be looking at trails and if there are ways to widen them and make them more accessible to everybody, but that sounds like a really great opportunity. Rika, Jeff, Meg, any questions or comments from you guys?
I have a Freddie foreshadowing for Allie. Allie, I know sometimes you hang out on Zoom and you wait for the regularly scheduled commission hearing. You may enjoy the Sculpture Park minor buffer zone activity tonight. We got a long agenda, so I don't blame you if you don't last till the end, but you may enjoy it. That's all.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to stay then because that is my favorite spot to go to in town. So I will stay. Thanks, Brecca.
Yep.
This is Michael Ryan. I'll just add one, talking about connectivity and the SNET. In addition to connecting it to downtown, at the other end, it's not that far from Schmidt's Farm. So maybe there's something we can do to connect Schmidt's Farm to the SNET.
So for the SNET, CSX and MBTA have been doing a purchase agreement. So the town was already seeking approval way back in the 2016 open space plan to extend it. And I know I'm sure we've all heard this before, but just in general. So now that MBTA has finally purchased it, now we need to contact MBTA to see if we can purchase it from them. So that's why it's taking a while. It hasn't left the radar. It's just taking a while because that's the way that things are. So.
Rika, do you know if it's envisioned that DCR would take that over, or would the town be interested in trying to acquire that land?
I'm not entirely
easement?
sure. I know Mike Maglio, the town engineer, he's the point of contact for that. I don't know. I would imagine it could very well be DCR, but even still, even though the SNET is owned by DCR, the town is a really big stakeholder in it. So even myself, I dictate what they plant out there, so. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I can ask.
Jake, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, it's discussion around, accessible trails, particularly, strollers, wheelchairs. Kind of jogged my memory that when the town sold the sewer bed that is now Brookview, I believe there was discussion, because there is town property kind of past that, right on Minebrook. I feel like there was discussion about a trail being built just like that and for that purpose, with access from Brookview. Does anyone else remember that? I don't know. I know that was many years ago.
Doesn't ring a bell to me, but I haven't been here very long, so. But I can also ask, again. I have no problem asking questions.
Patrick, I just wanted to comment on the connectivity to the farm, to Schmidt's Farm. I don't believe the SNET Railroad bed goes anywhere close to there. You'd have to access it there's a small trail that goes off where Bubbling Brook meets up with Prospect Street, or you could go to the bridge, and I believe the town has a right-of-way kind of driveway that goes up onto Prospect Street. But there's no sidewalks there. It's very dangerous if anybody was to try to walk down that street. So I'm not sure if that's something that would require us putting sidewalks in or putting some kind of bike path in. But I do know that there is no direct kind of offshoot off of the SNET to Schmidt's Farm.
Piggybacking off of you, Ryan, I did want to mention I'm already talking to Bellingham to see if there's trail connectivity between Schmidt's. Just FYI, because they have conservation land on the other side.
That's interesting.
That's great. I just knew we didn't own it, but that's great if you're talking to Bellingham.
Yep. Trying to, anyways.
They do. There's actually, between Silver Lake and Prospect, there's a pretty good trail network in there. You know, really ends up right across the street from Schmidt Farm.
Mm-hmm. And we just purchased the two western properties to Schmidt's as well. So there's this whole parcel of property now. Surprise.
I love the thought of that, being able to connect it all and giving people easy access to both the SNET and a Schmidt Farm. That would be amazing.
Right, I think it's a good thought just to be, saying like, how do we paint whether it's there or whether it's out by Maple Hill? And I mean, like in that area, I think there's a lot of potential to connect, between Bridle Path, Maple Hill, Basie, Keller Sullivan, the Metacom, right? Like, I mean, there are a lot of existing trails in that area that you could probably, with a few additional connections, reach even more neighborhoods and folks. So, I think we've had some good, interesting looking at the map and figuring out kind of where those are and what else would be needed. But I think all good opportunities to be thinking about.
Pat, the concept already exists on somebody's computer, and it was actually called the Emerald Necklace, and it was a concept to try to connect all these open space plots, and it's just there's a lot of difficulties with sidewalks and main roads and whatnot, but I think if we start small, now that we've acquired some land over at Maple Hill, starting small in that area would be a great goal of ours. So I think it'll happen in time.
Right, I agree, and I think even if it's and to the point of main roads and how you have intersections and crossings, and you see more and more of kind of the flashing pedestrian lights and just ways to make intersections a little bit safer. And we've talked about that with Delcart as well. That making sure that it's easier for folks to get around and get in between neighborhoods that way. So definitely something to take a look at.
Pat, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated for tonight. I think some great ideas have come out of tonight, specifically looking at accessibility around town, and I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Agreed.
Well, that was my last email, so nobody will be spammed anymore. Done.
Rika, is there office hours tomorrow?
There are, yep. So from 10 to 11 in the third floor training room, there will be office hours for anybody to come in, and it's been more relaxed than this. It's really good brainstorming hour I found. So that is the final one. And then just to preface, which I'm sure you are going to lead into anyways, our third public hearing is June 20th here in council chambers. It will be to review the draft plan. There is a month-long comment period for the draft open space plan, which will open before that public hearing. So I have a goal of June 7th, and I'm sticking to it. So that will be pushed out either on social media. I should probably send another email. I lied. You'll get another email, and then it'll also be on the conservation webpage. So you can peruse the draft plan. All comments will be in there, all meeting minutes, all properties identified as special interest by survey respondents is going to be in there, in addition to property that the town would like to pursue. The assessment that Ryan was mentioning, and then a bunch of other technical information will be in there as well. So, yeah. That's all I got.
Great. Well, thanks, Brika. Thanks, Ryan. Everybody for participating tonight and for kind of being with us throughout. I think barring any final comments, we'll adjourn for this part of the evening, and the commission will be back in about 15 minutes for our regularly scheduled hearing.
Patrick, I just wanted to, publicly thank Brika. She's done an amazing job with this. This is my, my fourth open space and recreation plan since being an employee, and by far, this is the most thorough. I feel like we've got a lot of input. I would have liked more surveys to come in, but I'm not gonna complain. This has just been a real eye-opener, and we've got a lot of people involved in the commission. You guys have done a great job, and I'm just really happy in the direction the town's heading in, so thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.
Great. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Recording stop.